Okay. I kind of want to make this video because I struggle with this myself, and I kind of just like thought about the fact that I need to change this and that I want to change this, and this is something that I want to kind of work through. And I think that recording myself and kind of talking about, what's going on in my head, what are my thoughts about this, how do I want to think about this going on in the future, I think that might be nice. And I think it might help me kind of have a clearer idea in my mind, something that I can go back to too, and something that I can share as well, and that other people might benefit from, and will need to hear themselves, and maybe my thoughts will make it clearer to them. And that's that you don't need to be understood all the time. You can't be understood all the time. People will misunderstand you. And this is something that's extremely frustrating to me because I am a thinker. I love to think. I think a lot. And I think I think that even if I didn't want to, even if I wanted to change this, and sometimes I do, but I think I also know that I can't, and I accepted it, and it's good. It's a nice thing about me. And sometimes I would think, what if I was more of a relaxed person that took just everything how it was and didn't inquire more about it. But I think it would also make me really boring, and I would also it would make me more relaxed, but it would also just like what am I doing? Like, isn't it fun to like explore your mind, explore the world, like just, And I think that if you're watching this, you're probably like, if you clicked on the video because of the title, you probably are like that as well. You're someone who thinks a lot, who overthinks a lot, and I think there's a line there, right, where there's nothing wrong with thinking a lot, because thinking a lot essentially, I think, comes from being someone who just naturally has a lot of, like, whose brain just likes to produce a lot of thoughts very quickly and very unfiltered, and isn't able to stop very easily. And I think that's exactly the skill, right? It's like, yes, thinking a lot is nice, but you also need to give yourself breaks. You also should be able to, like, slow down, right? Wind down. And I think learning that is a valuable skill for thinkers. And so I think there's something about communication, right? It's like, communication is something that we all need to do all the time. We can't avoid it unless we're sitting in our room all day. But even if you go outside to go to the grocery store, even if you drive a car, just driving a car with other people also driving cars around you means you have to communicate, right? It's not the same kind of communication than the verbal communication, or probably, but you still need to communicate things. And that's why the rules exist that we have for cars, like blinkers, right? The blinkers exist because we need to communicate our intentions. And people always mistake blinkers for something like, okay, I said I'm gonna turn left, and I'm gonna turn left, whether you want to or not. But a blinker is just an intention to turn left. And so that's kind of the problem, right? Communication is hard. It's so hard. Also, I don't like how low down I am. I think I wanted to have this in frame, but I want to be lower down so I can use my hands and stuff. Okay, this works better. Yeah, we want to be understood, and we also want to understand others sometimes, some people at least. But communication is hard, right? Because sometimes the way we interpret everything, both words, nonverbal things, everything else, all parts of life, the things we notice in the first place, the things we do notice and remember and think about, as well as the things like how we interpret those things are things that are all a product of our entire lives, of our own life only the conclusion of how our life went so far, and the memories and the experiences we made. And those are different. And that means that the same things can mean very different things to different people, right? And so we run into this kind of problem where even if we are dedicated perfectly to explaining forever, if we had an infinity to explain even the smallest little thing, even the explanation of the thing that we already said is going to be something that's can only be interpreted. So yeah, of course, the more time you spend to explain something, the longer, the higher the chance that you get through to the person. The more different approaches you take, the higher the chance that one of them aligns with the way the other person likes to interpret things, but or the way the brain works for the other person, right? To get through to the other person. But you can't ever be sure that it's gonna happen, and you could spend forever, and it's not worth it, because there's so much to experience in life, and to spend all your life spending all your life just with this one thing, right? You have just this one thing that you want to explain forever. It's not worth it. So instead of spending more and more time explaining something, like I'm doing right now, just move on, right? And do the next thing. And yeah, it's something that is sometimes pretty hard to do when you have spent so much of your time, of your life, being antagonized, right? If you've been antagonized a lot, then you're so scared of that. You're so scared of being misunderstood and being seen as evil, right? And I think what's hard is also like you cannot ever know whether something got through to that person. Even if the other person confirms, like, yes, I understood you, and they repeat what you said in their own words, then what could happen is that you interpret their words in your own way, in the way that you meant it, when they actually meant something completely else. So you will never know for sure if someone understood you. You can never know if someone understood you. And that's the one part about it, right? You can never be sure that someone understands you. There's nothing you can do to make sure that someone understands you. You can, of course, do things to improve those things. But here's what I think about that, right? Oftentimes or what I do at least, and I think some other people that are like me have the same problem, right? We've been antagonized, we've been hurt, we've been wronged and pushed around and bullied, and then you are misunderstood, and your first reaction is to explain yourself and to make the other person understand that you have good intentions. But there's already something you're doing that is wrong, not wrong, but it's not good for yourself. That is the step that leads you to do that. And that's the fact that you're taking the reaction of the other person as antagonizing. You're assuming that the other person is antagonizing you. And here's the thing, even if they are saying, I am antagonizing you, I think you're evil, I think you're a bad person, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily antagonizing you. What might be happening is that they just have trauma, right? And they're just reacting emotionally to your thing, to the thing you said or did or whatever. And that doesn't have to do anything with you. And to make it about you and to say, this is actually about me, and this says something about me, that, is already interpretation. Like, you're interpreting something to be about you. And I think that's pretty natural to like think that like to make everything about you, right? People react to you and then you think it's about you. I think that's pretty normal because you're the protagonist of your life. You have to spend every second with you. And to be with yourself all the time, of course you think everything's about you. Of course. And to get a reaction to something, and that reaction is bad, and then make it about yourself, and you know, that makes sense, of course. However, I don't want to tell you to not be hurt, right? If someone antagonizes you and tells you you're evil, that hurts a lot. If you're not trying to be evil, if you're not trying to hurt someone, that's such a hard thing to hear. It's really hurtful. And that I don't want to take away from that. You should still be heard. You should still give space to those feelings. However, at the same time, I think we should all we should spend some time after, our first reaction should be, okay, this person doesn't want to listen to me. This person has a set belief about how I meant those words. And our first reaction should be, okay, I'm hurt by this. I want to react to this. I have an impulse to react to this emotional reaction with my own emotional reaction. But obviously, it should, in a perfect world, if we responded to a machine saying, hey, the way you said that really hurt me. If you react emotionally, like, hey, that's not nice, that's not fair, why would you say that, right? The other person, the machine would say, well, it looks like you're pretty upset about being called evil, or being this interpretation of your words that upsets you, so obviously you didn't mean it that way, I take it back, right? That's what a machine would do. But obviously, the other person also doesn't, and you can't expect another person to also think like, oh, this person is reacting negatively to me saying they're evil, so obviously they didn't mean it that way, and I should apologize. That's not the action. The action is, oh yeah, now they're being, now they're hurt and reacting this way, and I don't like it. I don't want to be treated that way either. I don't want to be, I had a feeling, and now instead of someone responding to my feeling, I'm just getting accused. I'm just being told, why would you say that? That's not gonna help. So it's getting worse at that point, right? It's just gonna get worse and worse. You're not gonna get anywhere productive by being in that conversation. So you should take a step back and then give space to those feelings, first of all, obviously. And I think I want to talk about that another time, because I think, to me, still sometimes, but in general, I think it's kind of hard. We always hear give space to those feelings, but what does that even look like? I don't want to talk about that right now because I have more things to say about this other thing. Maybe I will just keep rambling. I don't know. But I want to first talk about that, and I want to say that, first thing, right? Step away. Let your emotions exist, and then realize, okay, this person didn't, they were not talking to me. They were reacting to themselves and to their own internal world, which is also what I'm doing. Right now, as I'm talking to this camera, I'm reacting to my own internal world. I have made experiences many times in my life that upset me, and that have led me to have this issue, and then led me to also realize that this is an issue that I need to fix, and then realize that this is a medium that I could choose to talk about that issue and how to resolve it, right? I'm just talking about myself. Even if I put this out to everyone, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to myself. And we're all doing that every single day. And I think that it's right, it's I think of okay, this other person, they're only talking to you, they're talking at you based on their own brain, right? They're just talking about, they're saying more about themselves than they're saying about you with everything that they're saying. They're saying they're only revealing things about themselves, really, and telling you in an unproductive way what's going on inside them, right? And sometimes people don't even communicate at all. Sometimes people are so scared of rejection, so scared of not being affirmed, not being told that their feelings are that matter, right? Maybe they don't even think that their feelings matter in the, like themselves. Maybe that's you as well. Maybe you have issues like telling people your feelings, but I understand that it's hard because our feelings are the most valuable thing we have, right? And what does that even mean, right? Everything I own, this shelf with all the things, my Pokemon cards, this thing my mom made for me, my books, this is a vinyl recorder thingy that I broke actually as well. It's like, I don't know why it's still here. I should throw it away probably or try to repair it maybe sometime. But yeah, everything I own. I have a e-drum set behind the camera. I have an acoustic drum set in my basement. Everything I own. Well, it could be gone tomorrow, right? So everything, and the only thing that I will always own is myself. Maybe not even that. You could lose your brain, could stop having memories, forget everything, get Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's sounds weird word. But yeah, you could have a psychosis. Something can happen that you don't even recognize yourself anymore. All that can happen. But that is the most valuable thing you have, right? Yourself. As the one person you have to spend all your life with. Imagine like you're gonna live like for 60, 70 years. Imagine you for 70 years. And all of that time you spend with yourself. Even sleeping, like you can't even sleep without yourself. You're dreaming, and it's about your own like experiences and memories and stuff. It's all that time, and to not like the memories are not real, right? We all know that memories are just your brain like having kind of tried to capture something, but there's so much information going in to our brain all the time, like visual information, the things we hear, touch, all the things. There's so much going on all the fucking time. Even if you didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, didn't have hands, even if all those things were gone, like you just in your mouth, the taste and the touch going on in your mouth, that is already so much going on, so much information, and your brain already filters out most of it before it even reaches your consciousness. Your subconscious notices all of it, but your conscious doesn't notice it. And then just within the next 2 seconds, even from that, 90% is gonna be gone as well. What do you think is gonna happen after like a day or 10 years, right? Those are not memories. What you're experiencing is a recollection of the senses that your brain could hold on to, kind of, right? But then every time you do that thing where you recollect it, where you try to keep it from going away, from getting lost, you alter it with your current things that you're experiencing, the things that your body is exposed to at this moment, even if it's just the small things, right? Even if you're just sitting in a bed being cozy, that coziness is going to affect that memory because it's going to be added to it, because you have a memory of the memory next time, right? And so the only thing we have is our emotions. That's the only thing that makes us human as well. Everything else about us, like my personality, could probably be perfectly replicated by a computer at some point. It's not gonna be that hard to figure out like the patterns, right? This is just those are just patterns, and those patterns can be figured out by a computer, because computers are good at patterns. But what a computer can't do is understand emotions. And emotions are also what changes us, right? And that's why I, as a person, am so unpredictable, just like everyone else. Because your entire, like, of course, your personality is your entire life. But then it always gets expanded a little bit by the new emotions you feel. And the bigger the emotions, the bigger it impacts you. Also because it's fresh, right? So it's going to impact you more. But this is just, it's amazing to be alive and a human, right? You have emotions, and those are the most important thing you have. And sorry, I needed to get out. I love emotions. I think we underappreciate emotions because they suck most of the time. The only time we think about emotions is when they suck. But it's like, even the sucky emotions, they're so important. Such an important part of being alive. And being like, just like not, I don't know where I was. I think I need to go back and look at where I was, but I kind of don't want to do that. I kind of want to think about what I was going to say. I know that I talked about my emotions a lot, but I was going to talk about other people being like misunderstanding you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we were at like my emotions. It's the only thing I have with me all the time, right? It's the only thing I own truly. Not even own, because they own me more than anything. We own each other in a way, right? I can change my emotions, and my emotions change me. And who am I to say that I'm not my emotions and to separate myself from them? But it's something that some people will like look at this and be like, get to the point. I'm so sorry. I'm not good at getting to my point. I'm just a rambler. I love rambling. I just like love talking. And then I have like a different thing to think about. And then I forget my own point. And then I just keep rambling until I remember my point. Because I love talking so much. Yeah, it's just like some people, oh yeah, you have issues like expressing your emotions, right? Because sometimes it's like the only thing we truly own, it's the most personal thing we have is our emotions. And to share that with another person is deeply personal. There's nothing more intimate than sharing an emotion with someone. Giving it, expressing it, and telling them this is what I feel. And if someone else treats this intimacy really badly, even if that happened in the past, you're gonna be scared of that. It's another emotion, right? So you cannot really stop sharing your emotion, because even if you don't share your emotions, you're still sharing an emotion. You're sharing the fact that you're scared of sharing your emotions. And of course, that's not the whole story. You have more feelings than that. Those are the feelings that you're not sharing. But I understand that it's hard, and it's hard work to unlearn that and to really like go to a person and say, hey, I'm going to tell you all my emotions, and I'm going to tell you how I feel, and then I want you to just listen to me and be intimate with those things, and treat this thing I told you well, and tell me like, hey, yeah, that can exist. I like you for your emotions, even if those emotions suck. Even if it's very like, hey, I'm hurt, right? I say, thank you for telling me. I'm telling you that I like your emotions. I like you feeling hurt. I like you telling me, because that's very intimate to me, right? And so it's hard for people to share their emotions, and I understand that, right? And I see why. It's not something I struggle with, obviously, very obviously, even though I've been wronged a lot as well. But I just learned that there's nothing more frustrating to me than not understanding, because I love thinking, right? There's nothing more frustrating to me than not understanding another person and not figuring there's a puzzle. If I have a puzzle and a piece is missing, I cannot finish the puzzle. No matter how good I am at puzzling, a puzzle where pieces are missing, it's always going to be unfinished. And that's not my fault. But it's a frustrating feeling. But then you have to say, well, this puzzle cannot be finished. There's no reason for me to sit in front of this puzzle and keep puzzling, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, what I do all the time is I have a puzzle in front of me, and I look at that puzzle because everything's a puzzle to me. Like, I love questioning things. I love thinking of everything in terms of questions. Like, everything's a question to me that can have an answer. And a puzzle is nothing else. Any kind of puzzle is nothing else than a question that you are looking for the answer for, right? You're looking, what is the answer to this? And I think that it's made me very intelligent, made me be able to empathize with things and be compassionate, and also be a loving person and love even bad emotions and everything. Everything I do and I am is stemming from me being so autistic that I love being in my own head and thinking about things and asking questions. And I was always a kid that always asked questions to everyone. I was like always like, okay, why? I know people like, oh, young children do that, and it's a phase in your life where you're asking lots of questions, but it never stopped for me. I was just like continue to ask the most random questions, and it wasn't even like, it was just like me like sitting in a corner like staring at the wall, not doing anything, and then randomly like, why is the sun like, why is the sun being drawn as yellow when it's not even yellow? Why is the sky often like drawn as blue when it's more like it's not often blue, like it's not always blue, right? Why does the sky change color? Like, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But why is it blue? I guess that's a pretty common question. I can't think of a like very unique question, but I know that I asked a lot of very strange, unique questions. My mom was always like, I have no idea. I've never asked myself this. I have no idea how to answer you. And that was always very frustrating because my parents didn't have like iPhones yet. That wasn't a thing yet where I could just like, okay, let me look this up on my phone. So sometimes my mom was like, I don't know. And nowadays that doesn't happen. But I'm really excited for the future, right? That means that children are gonna grow up and they're gonna ask a lot of questions. And if you as a parent, if you're a good parent, you're gonna say, let's look at this up. Let's go together on the internet and look this question up. And that's a great future we live in, where children get answers to all their questions. I mean, not all of the questions. Some questions do not have an answer. But you could, like, maybe there are going to be more children out there growing up knowing that they can ask questions and should question things all the time, question their own thoughts, question everything, and look for answers. Because I love doing that. And so it's very frustrating to me when a person doesn't want to tell me all the pieces to a puzzle. It's very hard. And that also means that because they're not sharing their feelings, I cannot share my feelings back. If someone misunderstands me, right, and then doesn't even tell me how they're like, they perceive me a certain way, and I don't even mean to be that way, and that's all not what's on my mind either. Like, it just happens to be what they perceive me as, based on their own experience, and it's not even what I want to be and what I do. But then if I like go up and say, if they go up and say like, hey, this is how I perceive you, and that really hurts, and I feel really like this is not like good for me, then I can say, hey, thank you for telling me. I don't want to be that way. That's not what's going on in my brain. What can we do to change the situation? Like, how can I be, like, what am I doing that is creating this in your brain, and how can that change, right? So it's hard because you cannot force someone to tell you what's going on in their brain, and also that assumes that they even know what's going on in their brain, that they know their emotions. Not everyone does. Not everyone does what they're feeling all the time. I didn't know what I was feeling for most of my life. Like, I only figured out a few months ago how to feel all my smaller feelings, because I really struggled with that all my life. Like, the association was too strong, and I needed specific kind of medication to figure out would like to be more connected with my body and to have a better relationship to my feelings and to understand the small feelings and not just know like, okay, something's wrong. I think I feel this, but kind of guessing as well. And so to, you know what I mean? It's like hard. It's hard to know your feelings. It's hard what you're feeling. It's hard to know where it's coming from. And it's hard to share that. And so sometimes you'll have situations where someone's like, hey, actually, like, you suck. You do this and this and this and this. And you know what you should do? You should just be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And maybe you shouldn't try to convince this person otherwise and to tell them actually you're wrong. Because if they don't ask, if they don't want to know, if it wasn't worth it for them to go up to you to be like, hey, this is how I perceive you, but is that even true? Like, is that who you are? If they're not in a place where they're able to see that their own, like, this is only my perception based on my life, and this person is different and has a different life, and I should ask things, and I should go up and ask. If they're not in a place like that, then you will talk against the wall, right? Because if they're not even able to know that, then they're just gonna keep doing that over and over. They're just gonna keep assuming things about people and saying this isn't working, or this isn't good, or this hurts me, and whatever, and they're not doing anything that's changing, like not asking things, not communicating these things correctly, and you cannot change that. You, by telling them, like, they're not gonna go like, oh, you're right, I assumed this thing, and it's not even true, and you just told me how this is not even true, and now my eyes are opened, and I'm like, now next time I will ask. No, they're gonna go, I ain't reading all that. They're not even gonna listen. Like, even if they read your message or listen to you very closely and intently, they're gonna go, oh yeah, I assumed this, and then nothing's gonna change. They're still gonna do the same thing next time, because there's something deeper that has to happen for that thing to change, and that deeper thing has to come from within themselves. And if they're already this, like, so, like, they're not, when they're telling you this thing, they're not in the mindset to change who they are as a person. That's not what's going on in their brain at that moment, right? They're feeling feelings, and they're expressing those feelings maybe a little bit too late, because those feelings became so big that they couldn't keep them in, or maybe they expressed them immediately, but they couldn't do it healthily and couldn't do it in a way where it didn't assume that the other person was hurting them intentionally, right? And so to be in that mindset, either of those things, is not a mindset in which you can teach this person a lesson about their own brain and teach this person, like, hey, you need to communicate better, you need to not assume these things, you need to talk to me in a way which we can work together and be a team, because communication only works. Communication is successful if you're communicating as a team, if you're acting and thinking as a team that is passing a ball back and forth, right? If you're playing football, if you're playing soccer, or whatever you want to call it, and you're passing a ball to someone who's on your team, then you're trying to get that ball right where they want it, right? You're not thinking about, where do I want that ball to be? You're thinking about, where do they want that ball to be? Where do they need that ball to be to receive it and do something with it? And then they will pass that ball back to you. You're not gonna try to kick that ball as far away from them as possible so they have to run and get it, and then they're gonna do the same thing, right? That's playing against each other. That's what you're doing with the opponent. But if you're teammates with someone, you're gonna try to make it as easy for them as possible and to be on their side, right? And if people aren't communicating like that, if the people aren't communicating with you as if you're on their team, as if you are on their side, then you cannot change them. If you, in football, I'm trying to out dribble someone and get past them, right? And they tell me, hell, you don't need to get past me. Please go ahead. Then they're not gonna start passing the ball to you. Maybe they will go ahead and go past you, but they won't pass you the ball. They will never pass you the ball because they still think you're an opponent. And as an opponent, like you as the opponent are not able to tell them that you're not an opponent, that you are on their side. You have already been assigned your role by them in their head, right? So you cannot change that. And so I think sometimes we just need to like, okay, you taught me this, you taught me how you perceive me, and what I can do is I can go to other people in my life that aren't treating me as an opponent, people that are treating me as a person that they like and as a teammate, right? Go to them and say like, hey, this is what this person said about me. Do you perceive it the same way? And if they say yes, then you can ask them like, what can I do to change that? What's going on, right? And if they aren't, then you can't do anything about it, and you don't need to worry about it, because if other people aren't perceiving you that way, if the people you love already in your life are not perceiving you that way, then there's nothing to fix for you. Then the way they perceived you was a them problem, right? Maybe it's also something that everyone that is like them is going to perceive you that way. But then just if that happens like 2 times, and two times you don't have the chance to change, like to ask like what's going on, then the 3rd time, every single time afterwards, once you get to know a person, once you get closer, you can ask them, right? Every single time. You're like, hey, is that something you perceive the same way? If so, why? What's going on, right? But this person that's antagonizing you, that is misunderstanding you, you cannot force them to understand you. If someone wants to understand you, they will ask and they will give you a chance to show you. They will show you, I want to know what you want. I want you to think. I want to understand you better. They will not just assume what you, like, even if someone assumes what you mean, the way they assume it, you will always, like, you will be able to know whether they just assume it in a positive, like still other positive way or negative way. And if someone assumes that you have negative intentions and that you are trying to hurt someone or whatever, and you aren't, then you cannot change that person's mind. You cannot change them. And then you need to just like let it go and be hurt about it. Be hurt that you're antagonized, and know that in this person's life, you are a person that you are not. And you're going to be perceived as a person that you're not. And let go and move on, because it's like, can't change it. So why bother thinking about it? Why bother breaking my brain about it? Why not think about other things? Because it's like, it's a puzzle with a missing piece. You are not gonna be able to like cut out another puzzle piece and paint on it. You're not the one to do it, because the puzzle doesn't want you to. It's a very weird analogy at this point, but yeah, this is all I'm saying. I think it's like, yeah, sometimes people, whether they tell you directly and immediately, and it's like a very small thing or short term or a random person on the internet, or whether it's a friend or used to be friend or anyone really, right? Anyone, doesn't matter. If they antagonize you or otherwise like tell you what they think you are, what they say about you, and it's something negative and doesn't even apply to you, like, don't need to worry about it. Don't need to change something, because you can't. You can't change what they think. You don't need to tell them. If someone, like, I had a person who was a friend of another person, or was a friend of my friend. I had a friend, a very close friend of mine at that time, and their closest friend assumed that I was trying to hurt them or something. And when I apologized to that person, I tried to explain myself. I was like, I'm not trying to hurt you. This is what happened. And now I think like, okay, I want to for him. I don't need to. I just want to. I want to not do that in the future. When someone, antagonizes me like that and says like, okay, you try to hurt me. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. Just be the bigger person. Just like, no, okay, I know I didn't try to hurt this person, but, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry that I did that to you and that you are feeling this way, because that's a really hard feeling, and I know that it's really frustrating and really, it's just so much to feel like people are treating you so wrong and to be treated that way. And so I'm sorry. And if they still antagonize you, they're not going to accept your apology. And you need to accept that too. You need to be like, okay, I'm going to say I'm sorry. I'm not going to explain myself. And I'm going to have to expect and be prepared that this person is not going to accept my apology, because they already think of me as a villain. So why would they think I'm genuinely sorry, right? But all you can be is genuine about, and try to show that you're genuine about not wanting to hurt this person, right? And you're like, I'm sorry. I know how it feels to be so like treated this way, to like feel like everyone's just like trying to hurt you and stuff. And I really don't want you to feel that way. And I'm really sorry that I made you feel that way, because that sucks ass. And so then they can either say like, okay, actually I was wrong. They might even ask like, what was going on? How did that happen? Or maybe they didn't even mean it. Like they said that you're evil, and then they were like, okay. Once they calm down, or like, why did I say that? Like that, obviously they're not evil, right? You cannot know, but just don't even try to share your inner life with people that are not asking for it, because if they don't want to know, then it's not worth sharing that with them. Not worth sharing or trying to defend yourself and trying to you know, be you know, fighting to be understood, fighting to be seen as a kind person. If you're trying to be kind, that's so hard. It's so hurtful to be treated like, to be told that you're evil, right? Or to be in other ways, like told like, okay, this, you want this and this is the way you are, this is how you are, and I can't deal with that. And it's like, I'm not that way. Like, why are you doing that? It hurts as shit. And you need to take time to process that feeling that it hurts like shit. But at the same time, just don't try to convince that person otherwise, because you're just making yourself sad with that. You're not gonna achieve anything. It's not gonna work. And at the same time, you're just gonna you're just gonna feel bitter about the world. You're just gonna feel like you can never be right, because you're making it about you, right? And as soon as you explain yourself to someone who doesn't ask, who doesn't want to know, doesn't show interest to know, as soon as someone doesn't show interest and you you explain yourself, you are setting yourself up to feel bitter about the world and to feel like the world is a place where you don't belong. Be like, I don't belong here because I'm misunderstood, and I'm not given the chance to be better, and I'm me. No, it's not about you. Don't make it about you. What they're saying about you, it's not about you. It's about them. They're just sharing. Even if they say like, you are this way, that's not what they're saying. They're saying, I think you're this way. I perceive you this way, and I either can't see you another way, or I don't want to see you another way. And whichever one it is, not my problem. Okay, that's sad for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I can't. That you can't, like, that we can't be happy together, right? That you do not want to be happy being in my presence, because I know that I'm a happy person most of the time. And right, it's like I'm a happy person, and I know that people like benefit from my presence a lot, and that people are happy around me, and that my excitedness and my passion is something that people like find it easy to share when they're around me, and it makes them very happy to look at, right? And so, like, if that person can't have that for some reason, okay, sure, why ever. It's like on TikTok today, it's like I had made a comment yesterday night or this morning or whatever, and it wasn't a well formulated comment. It was a reply to another comment. I didn't formulate it perfectly, and then 3 people jumped at me. I was like, ableism. It's like I shared my experience, and I didn't perfectly explain that not everyone will have that experience. And it's like, I understand that you, as a reader, have probably been told a lot what you can and cannot be. And you're projecting that onto my comment. You're not able to see that that's not what I meant, obviously, based on the rest of the comment, right? Based on the context. And you will just ignore that to be bitter and to be angry at someone, because it feels good to be angry at someone sometimes. Sometimes you need a scapegoat, and it's like, why bother? Why bother? Why bother explaining that to them? That you're not gonna change it, right? You're not gonna be the one to change it. So, move on, and in your mind, you can wish the best for that person, but you cannot ever do something to make it easier. And I know this was a very long rant, and I hope that some people will be able to clean their room or do dishes or do laundry while watching this. But I hope that I also like kind of gave y'all a little bit of a new idea, maybe sometimes to approach situations where maybe you would be frustrated and think about it a lot and be like, why is this person perceiving me this way? Why are they not telling me why they're perceiving me this way? Why aren't they giving me a chance to change? Why are they antagonizing me when I'm clearly such a positive person that is so kind and trying to give kindness to other people? Like, why? No, it's not about you. It's about them. Don't think about it as something that's about you. Don't make it about you. It's not about you. And you can change it, and you can just share your personality and your who you are with the people that are already in your life, other new people, and you know, continue having a positive life, life that is enjoyable to yourself. And then also you can ask those other people how they perceive you and why, and what you can do to change. That's what you can do. And also, like, I think we rarely do that. Like, one person tells us a thing, and then we go to another person, like, hey, this other person told me this thing. Do you think the same? Why? Like, what's going on? But that's also, like, if you do that, I think that's gonna make people, like, think much more, like, they're gonna feel much more open to telling you things about you, and to criticize you, and to tell you how you hurt them, maybe, how you did things. Because I think, it creates, like, this idea of you as a person that is open to criticism and who wants to change, and who understands that the same person who's criticizing you in one situation is not also the person that can help you to change, and to understand why you're perceived that way by some people, maybe. But yeah, sorry for the 50 minutes now. I said goodbye and then kept talking. But yeah, I think it's over now, and I hope that you all have a good day. Bye.